Hi, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another session of Once Upon a Time with Rinpoche. So today's session is going to be about Rinpoche's Ladrang. As usual, before we begin, let me see who's on and give you some time for more of you guys to come on, right? And to make sure that I'm also online. Yes, I'm online. I can see myself already. It's loading. It's a little slow. Good evening to all of you guys. Hope you guys had a good meal earlier, your dinner. It's slow. It's very slow. Never mind. Queen Hoi, I can see that you folded your hands. Long time no see. Thank you for joining me. And Esther, good evening. I still cannot see myself, but it's all right. I think you can see me. That's more important. I cannot see myself, it's all right. And Lily. Oh, Lily, hi. All the way from England, huh? And Mr. Lam and Hook, Mr. Tan Hook Ping. Your name sounds familiar. Anyway, right. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about Rinpoche's Ladrang. What's a Ladrang? Okay, Ladrang, as you know, is Rinpoche's residence. When you say residence, it's like a place where Rinpoche lives. But it's traditionally a Ladrang is more than just the residence of a Rinpoche or a Lama, because the Lama's work is to benefit others. That is the main purpose of a Lama or Rinpoche, is to benefit others. So what happens is even his residence is to benefit other people. So what happened is the Lama is because of his work, he would have and the main way that the Lama benefits others is through teaching. So he will have students. He will have people assisting him. So it's not just a house. It's not just a residence. It's not just a place where he sleeps or he stays. It's also an institution. It's also, as some people call it these days, private office, you know. Okay, good evening to you guys. I see more people, but my computer is not loading very well. The internet is a bit slow, I think. I see Melvin. I see Andre. Hi. Good evening. Thank you for joining me. And Kwang Ming, Bradley, all the way from Canada, isn't it? And some other people, I think. But anyway, so that's what a Ladrang is. A Ladrang is a place. It's the residence of the Lama as well as his private office. So, for Rinpoche, okay, I will speak a little bit more on my understanding of what Ladrang is, and also from what I've seen, because there's a lot of difference in a sense, because traditionally a Ladrang would be within the monastery, or rather within a monastic environment. So it'll be monks, and strictly monks, and in a monastic environment where if the Lama is popular, if the Lama has a lot of monastic responsibility, or he has a position in the monastery, like a umze, like an abbot or an ex-abbot. So what happens is he would have assistants to help him, especially with regards to the managing of the monastery and stuff like that. So there'll be a lot of meeting with officials. So the audience room is important, and also as well as giving a lot of teachings. Because of his position, he will be. They choose certain lamas to be in positions in the monastery based on their repute, based on their knowledge, based on their conduct, as in how well they hold the vows and how they influence others, teach the students, how much of an impact they have on the students. So that's in a monastic environment. In a non-monastic environment like Malaysia, it's totally different in the sense that when it comes to Malaysia, for Rinpoche, Tsem Rinpoche, that is, Rinpoche's encounter is much different in the sense that it's mostly to do with lay disciples. So for Rinpoche, he's discovered a way of proliferating Dharma, not just through giving teachings. Of course, giving teachings is primarily Rinpoche's main mode of benefiting people. But Rinpoche does much more work than that. Much more work. Okay, so I see much more people come on. So I think I know the picture of Rinpoche in his bedroom kind of intrigued some of you guys, and you're hoping to know a little bit more of what's in Rinpoche's room, because what's Rinpoche like in his private, in behind the scenes in his bedroom. I will tell you a little. Don't worry, it will come to that. First, you have to understand what a Ladrang is first. So, like for Rinpoche, the Ladrang is a place where Rinpoche meets people on a private basis, away from the center, from the Dharma center. So he would meet quite a number of people, sometimes to give teachings, sometimes but mostly to have meetings. Sometimes casual, as in to just to get to know certain disciples, certain students better, who Rinpoche is trying to work with, and sometimes for work meetings, So when it comes to work meeting, Rinpoche it's not a corporate environment. Rinpoche is not a person. Rinpoche is I would say not a figure of, like a boss kind of thing. Rinpoche is a very still every time he does a meeting, there's always a session where Rinpoche will give a Dharma talk. Give a Dharma, at least set the motivation. So Rinpoche would give a Dharma talk, set the motivation, and it would, whatever Rinpoche said is pertaining to the work that's being done. Okay, so Rinpoche always does this, and so it's never just, sit down and talk, and it's like a CEO, like meeting our CEO. Rinpoche is never like that. So when you meet Rinpoche, it's always, there will be somehow a Dharma element infused in. Whether immediately Rinpoche gives a talk, most of the time, most of our meetings, it begins with quite a substantial talk, and then the meeting will be like not as long, but it will be somewhere at the end. And sometimes, a lot of times, Rinpoche wants to disseminate information, and he would like to do it face to face. Sometimes certain things happen, some important events happen with regards to within the Tibetan world, in the monastery and so forth. So he would meet his disciples, his friends, in a meeting, So and in a meeting, so that's how Rinpoche does it. And of course, it's not. And typical of Rinpoche, it's not a one-way thing. Rinpoche would ask questions. Rinpoche would require some kind of feedback, and in order to understand from their perspective, so Rinpoche would know how to help them. Rinpoche's always, everything what Rinpoche does is always to benefit others, as you know. So that's what Rinpoche does in Ladrang. There's a lot of, a huge place. There's always a place in his room or in his residence, in the living room, a dining place, or later on Rinpoche. In earlier days, when I first met Rinpoche, Rinpoche was just living alone. When I first met Rinpoche, he was just living alone, and he had an assistants, Chia and a few other people, but they don't live with Rinpoche. They will come in and to help him out, on and off, on a not necessarily on a regular basis. That is when I first met Rinpoche. This was before Kechara House was formed. All right. So over time, Rinpoche began to encourage students to come in more regularly, because when Kechara House was open, Rinpoche knew that he would have to teach more, meet more people, and do a lot more work. And Rinpoche, once Kechara House was formed, Rinpoche switched in a different gear. in a sense that Rinpoche made his Ladrang more accessible to his assistants and made it more, sacrifice his personal space. Rinpoche himself often reveal it, that it's a sacrifice for him, for anybody, not just for Rinpoche, for anybody, that even your house, your living space become someone's office. Someone, the moment he comes out of his room, there's people working outside or doing things. So, because for Rinpoche, that's how, from the Tibetan background, from the monastic background, that's what a Ladrang is supposed to be. So there'll be assistants who come in to help with very mundane things like running of the Ladrang, like cleanliness, like the offerings, like restocking of certain elements like books, and later on Rinpoche started what we come to know. Sorry, my words are not flowy today. It's a bit weird. What we come to know as the gift section. I think some of you will know, when you come to Kechara Forest Retreat, there's a gift section. There used to be a huge building, and that was started with a section in the Ladrang. Actually, I remember Rinpoche started off as just one shelf. Because that time Rinpoche didn't have much money, but when he did have sponsorship, he would buy a lot of extra things, books, toys, gifts, and he used to stock up this cabinet, which he calls the gift section, in order to give it out. Because he feels that when he meets people, that is one of his duty as a Lama. That's one of his way to benefit people. Because it's not just giving, when Rinpoche gives a gift, it is with a lot of thought put in. It is a lot of feeling, in a sense that, feeling means, more than the ordinary word of feeling. What I mean is, when Rinpoche would try to understand the person, let's say if it's a person, it's completely new to Dharma, just came into Kechara, so Rinpoche feel he wants to give a gift. So he would ask questions about this person, look at the picture, and for Rinpoche, it's to get a feel of the person, the personality, or the likes and dislikes. Sometimes just feeling, and more from whatever we can tell Rinpoche, as Rinpoche's assistants, as Rinpoche's eyes and ears, So that's why it's important for those who are near Rinpoche to be a little bit more alert than normal, in a sense to keep our eyes and ears peeled. Not that I'm not the perfect example of alertness, but yeah, that would have been perfect and much needed for Rinpoche. When you want to assist Rinpoche, you cannot be someone who is very, not a people person, only to yourself. Most of us are, to a certain extent, we are like that. We are just about ourselves. We are a private person. We don't want to know so much about other people who don't matter to us. And then there are introverts, in other words. So for Rinpoche, if you want to assist Rinpoche, you have to come out of your... Like for me, I'm pretty much, by nature, I think I'm an introvert by nature. But because of being with Rinpoche, and I had to become a little bit more extroverted. Not necessarily by choice. In a sense that Rinpoche always asks me for opinions and always get me to, from time to time, help people talk, teach, explain things. So I won't say I have no choice. I do whatever is by choice, of course. Even when it's under Rinpoche's instructions, of course, it's my choice to follow Rinpoche's instruction. And I know it benefits them, so it's my choice. So I can't say it's not my choice, but it's not something that is natural to me. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not something that's natural to me. It's something that I have to develop. I think for a lot of people, it's like that. There are some people who are naturally extroverted. It's just second nature for them, not for me. So anyway, in the Ladrang, Rinpoche requires people who assist Rinpoche in the Ladrang to be a little bit more alert, aware, understand people, get to know people, be more attentive, serve people, not wait to be served. And something that it was a struggle for me. Not that I want people to serve me. What happens is, it's just that I'm a single child, so I'm just used to it. So, and I'm usually the youngest in whatever crowd, especially when I first, 20, about 15 years ago, 16 years ago, when I first met Rinpoche, that period, I was quite young. I was pretty basically the youngest there, but Rinpoche does not like that. And he always makes sure that I'm on my toes and I'm to serve. And he usually gets the younger one especially. Those who are used to be served, Rinpoche will always ask them, oh, can you please serve them? And then after a few times, and we still wait to be given the instruction to serve others, then Rinpoche will say, Rinpoche would up the ante a little bit and said, and already, okay, what, waiting to be served, is it? Rinpoche will give comments like that. And then, okay, for me, when I get that kind of comment, I know I have to be smarter already, be more attentive. That's what it's like to be in Rinpoche's Ladrang. When you want to serve Rinpoche, you have to be attentive and have to, if possible, anticipate what Rinpoche requires, because sometimes Rinpoche works on partly feeling, partly for the moment, partly because when people come in, sometimes meetings are set very ad hoc, very impromptu meetings. That's how Rinpoche works. Because when people need help, Rinpoche cannot say no. And sometimes Rinpoche needs to do divination. Rinpoche needs to do a lot of things. Sometimes he needs to do a puja. Sometimes he needs a book. He needs a gift. He needs things available for someone he's meeting. Sometimes he doesn't have anything in mind when he meets Rinpoche. When Rinpoche has an audience, he doesn't have anything in mind to give the person. The things are already there. But Rinpoche, when he meets the person, he feels, okay, he needs to give a particular book, a particular gift that's not available, that's been prepared. So we have to run and look for the thing. So it's like that. So it's a lot of impromptu thing because it's intuition, it's based working on Rinpoche's intuition, his and also what's needed at the moment. So we have to be on our toes, All right. So I hope I give you an idea what's it like, and Rinpoche on a personal basis in his room. Okay, I think some of you are waiting for things like that. Rinpoche doesn't like a lot of furniture. Rinpoche doesn't like a lot of possessions. I can say that for a fact after many years of being Rinpoche not just be Rinpoche as a student, but also I'm close to Rinpoche. So Rinpoche would often invite me to his room to talk, which is part of what I do, to accompany Rinpoche and to assist Rinpoche. And on a personal basis, on many occasions. Of course, Rinpoche had official ones. I'm not the official assistant, but I'm just invited by Rinpoche all the time. So I'm always there with Rinpoche, and Rinpoche goes through a period where he feels that he has a lot of things, he's accumulated a lot of things, people give him a lot of gifts, he's accumulated a lot of things in his room, he would want to get rid of it. And Rinpoche doesn't like to have a lot of things. So when he has a lot of things, he of course, the things that were given to Rinpoche, or Rinpoche had people sponsor him when it was needed. During a time, there were years that Rinpoche was a model, so he had a lot of good clothes. He gave it away. Yeah, he would give it away, and he would give it to his students. I'm one of the recipients, and many others. Although some of Rinpoche's clothes really, I find it hard it doesn't really fit me, but I took it anyway because I thought of it as a blessing, and the clothes are nice. It's just that Rinpoche was very tall, so it doesn't really fit me. But anyway, yeah, so with regards to possessions, Rinpoche don't like to keep a lot of things. And he doesn't like to wear watches. He doesn't really like jewelry that much. But he goes through periods where he will keep them. He will keep jewelry, sometimes rings, not for very long. He doesn't wear it for very long. But I think what he does is when he gets jewelry, initially in the early years, I saw Rinpoche would wear it. Then later on, he doesn't wear it. He puts it on a plate, and he would bless it on the altar, leave it for a while, and when he does his prayers, he will blow mantras on it, and he will give it to maybe the sponsors, maybe important people, maybe people who, students and friends. Not most of them, I don't know who they, when Rinpoche gives. I'm not always there, but I saw it, what Rinpoche was doing. So with jewelry, with watches, Rinpoche is not into it. With clothes, when he was modeling the time, on a personal basis, he doesn't like to wear fancy clothes unless it's necessary. He likes to wear very plain sweatshirts and t-shirts, black and white. And which was what is the colors that are when you're not in robes lah, something like that, right? And also and with regards to his bedroom, furniture is usually always a desk, sometimes a desk next to his bed, sometimes I remember Rinpoche in the early days, he had a desk, like he sat on a chair and a desk, but Rinpoche didn't really like it. Eventually he had a desk next to his bed, and he liked to work like that, next to his bed. So what happened was, what he did was, because Rinpoche doesn't like to sleep on high beds. Some of us, we have very high beds, we have thick mattresses, and so it's comfortable. And for me, Rinpoche don't like that. Rinpoche likes it low. He likes it on the floor, in fact, actually. So as far as I recall, Rinpoche has always been sleeping basically on the floor, just a mattress on the floor. Things like that. And but later on, in his later years, he hardly sleep on a bed anymore, on a mattress, because too low. So because Rinpoche, towards the last few years of his life, right, he put on a lot of weight, so he had a problem getting up. So it's always so what happened is Rinpoche had which is not a very good habit, but it was a reclining chair. So he slept on his chair, which is, I don't know how you guys think about that, which is because Rinpoche takes naps, he doesn't really sleep that time. He takes naps and then he wakes up and he does things. So sometimes it will seem that Rinpoche doesn't sleep at all, because it's like he naps and then he wakes up and he replies messages and he goes back to sleep and then he wakes up again throughout the whole night. So Rinpoche's night is not our night, because Rinpoche's our night, which is like 8 o'clock is nighttime, right? For Rinpoche, it's about late morning, because Rinpoche wakes up late, and late as in not late, and it's not even official waking up also. It's like when Rinpoche gets more active. Usually Rinpoche is already awake in the morning. Early in the morning he goes to sleep. By afternoon, our lunchtime, Rinpoche will be awake already. 1 o'clock, he'll be awake, he'll be replying messages, sending instructions. Then he takes nap and then he wake. So he goes back and forth, and then he's more active around 3 to 4, around there. So that I will consider it a official waking hour, but Rinpoche is awake hours before. So sometimes people so why does Rinpoche do that? Because a lot of things go through Rinpoche all hours of the morning and night. And Rinpoche, with regards to his sleeping pattern, Rinpoche doesn't know why, but in a sense that something in his life, but why he have to sleep like that. Rinpoche's sleeping pattern is always not like a normal person. He doesn't sleep when it's dark. He does not. I would describe it in such a sense, in a way that it's not the time, it's when it's dark. Usually when it's dark, we get sleepy, isn't it? So about, when it gets 8 o'clock, nowadays we have light, so we stay awake more late, maybe to 12 for some of us, 1, 2 o'clock. So for Rinpoche, it's not, when it's dark, it's like he gets more alive, more awake. So what Rinpoche never really fully explained, but one time Rinpoche did say that he feels it's because in his previous life, Rinpoche had spent a lot of time meditating at night, doing his practices at night. And that imprint is very strong in Rinpoche. So he's more awake. Why they do it at night? Part of Rinpoche said that, this is from memory, okay? I may be a little hazy. But Rinpoche did say that for tantric practice, the Dakinis are more active in the dark. At night, sorry, not in the dark, at night. So a lot of the tantric practitioners, especially in ancient times in Tibet and India, right, they would do their practice late at night, sometimes in cemeteries. Oh, okay, sorry, I see there's some messages here. Okay, now I can see myself. I can see your messages. Okay, did I miss any questions earlier? Mostly hello. Hello to everybody. Cat Steven, Lee Fong, Evan, Yvonne, I think that's how you pronounce it. Yvonne, Hannah, Kanun, Dr. Ming, Carolyn, Jillian, Chi Jin, Ngai Hin, Jerry, Chung, and okay. Mr. Lam says, Pastor, was it difficult to obtain an audience with Rinpoche? I had this impression several years ago. Okay, with regards to getting an audience for Rinpoche, depends. It is a hard question to answer, because how I want to answer is, I cannot give you a definitive answer that it is easy or it's difficult, because it would seem that it's hard to get an audience, particularly in the last few years, because Rinpoche generally by his character okay, because of his character, Rinpoche doesn't really like to meet. And Rinpoche doesn't like to meet for casual basis, just to have chit-chat and get together and enjoy ourselves. Rinpoche usually meet people for a reason, for a purpose. So if you want to meet Rinpoche, I mean, of course, you go to the official channels to the Changzo and all that. Yeah, it's possible. Anybody, it's possible, definitely. But it would be better if you have a proper reason of why you want to meet Rinpoche. And actually, if anybody who wants to meet Rinpoche, it's not that difficult. It's not. Especially in earlier days, later days as well. If you volunteer a lot, if you try your best to do work, to benefit, to do some kind of Dharma work, and you're always around, and there's a high chance you'll meet Rinpoche. Why? Because that's how Rinpoche meets people. In a sense, sometimes he would appear, and to encourage the volunteers, he would appear, and then he would just have, to bring food to people. As someone, I think Sharon says, I remember some of us cooking for Rinpoche after midnight. Well, yeah. I mean, also for people cook for Rinpoche, and also Rinpoche would buy a lot of food. Rinpoche spent a lot of his personal money buying a lot of food for volunteers, because there's a lot of work that we do in the past that required a lot of around the clock sometimes for certain projects. And so Rinpoche always have this principle that whoever comes to Ladrang has to be fed. They have to be given at least a snack if they don't stay long. If they stay long, then you definitely will be given a meal, and a meal or two, okay? And that's Rinpoche's principle. Because Rinpoche feels that if volunteers work so hard, they give their time, so at least, and they work late, so at least they're given a proper meal. And this is not a cheapskate meal bought from somewhere. It's always usually the nicest ones. And in Kechara, we have to cook ourselves because buying outside would be difficult. But when it was in Kel, the earlier years, Rinpoche would buy a lot of nice food and give it out. He would spend a lot of his personal money all the time buying food. And Rinpoche, as Sharon said, Rinpoche is always generous, always. And when it comes to meeting with Rinpoche, a lot of times, especially the people who work in Kechara and people who volunteer in Kechara often get to meet Rinpoche. Unfortunately, towards the last few years, Rinpoche had, by nature, when you get older, you don't want to meet so many people. Rinpoche's character, basically, Rinpoche said many times to me, personal basis, he doesn't like to meet anybody. It's not that he doesn't like to meet people or whatever. It's not his thing to socialize. He doesn't believe in, we have to get together and socialize and be happy and all that. Because it is, to Rinpoche, having casual get-together, chit-chat, there's nothing wrong about that. There's nothing wrong. But for Rinpoche, maybe his time is short. He knows it. The rest of us don't know how long, but Rinpoche always tell us that, it reminds us that his time will be short. And so he doesn't want to waste time. So you understand from Rinpoche's perspective, he doesn't want to waste time and for simple get-togethers. But he will still meet a lot of people all the time. Chung says this, Rinpoche is very deliberate in his actions. There's always a reason why he does or does not do something, but do not think that he does not know what you need even though it has not been expressed to him. Correct. That's very accurate. It is always based on what the person needs, and sometimes simple get together all the time may not be of much benefit to the person, so it was not necessary. All right. So anyway, in Rinpoche's room, I spoke about his desk. He likes it low. It's very simple furniture, and the picture that I posted on Kecharans and Friends group, that was in the earlier days, and that time when Rinpoche was in the city. He longed for the forest. He longed for greens. So he used to have big pictures of forests and trees. I remember there's one time Rinpoche, he made his whole wall into a mural, of a forest. The entire wall in his bedroom. So he feels like he's sleeping in a forest. And then later on, when he had the finances for it, he got fig trees in his bedroom. These fig trees are still here in Kechara, actually, especially in enchanted forests, and in some parts of Kechara. And some of them were originally from Rinpoche's bedroom itself, and he liked it. He liked that there were trees around him, and it was a sense of familiarity. Rinpoche longed to be in nature. He longed to be doing retreats, solitary retreats, but it was not possible. For what Rinpoche wanted to accomplish in this life, it was not possible for him to do that. So those were just reminders. Those were something to ease his longing, if you understand what I mean. So especially when Rinpoche was in the city, the environment made Rinpoche feel very repressed. I think the word is repressed, because this how Rinpoche described. He feels restless. He feels repressed. He feels that he's inhibited. So when he goes to somewhere like Kechara Forest Retreat or somewhere green, before Kechara Forest, sometimes we will go on car rides and where there was more greens in the parks and all. He enjoyed those times. Those are small respite for Rinpoche. It's very different from the rest of us, because for us, when you go into nature, it's like, mosquitoes, the sun, so boring, nothing to do. Hi, Stanley Robinson. Thank you for your comment. This is what you said. I'm grateful to have come across Rinpoche and his teachings. Thank you for consistently posting them on YouTube. You're welcome. It's not by me, of course, but it's the team here in Kechara, and I think that's who you're thanking. Yeah, that's right. And Rinpoche had given a lot of teachings, and fortunately, we are very fortunate. A lot of it has been recorded. Not all of them, but a lot of it have been recorded, and it's made available via YouTube. And we will continue to provide more content as much as we can. Sometimes we just have to edit it, maybe to highlight certain points, you know. So whatever it is, Rinpoche's teachings will always be timeless. And it would always be relevant for people today. So I'm glad that you found some kind of benefit from it. All right. And my session here is to give you an understanding of Rinpoche himself. And today was actually specifically about his Ladrang, his residence. His residence, which is not necessarily just residence, it's his private office. So I was going around in his bedroom. I was talking about his bed. Rinpoche likes to sleep on a low bed. And I was talking about the environment, how he furnished his room, in the sense that he liked the forest. He liked fig trees to give him that feeling that he's in the forest. And everything else is very much, how would I say it? Functional. So it's bedroom, it's a cabinet, it's a desk, it's a bed. That's it. As for altars, the only thing that's in a sense that is it's more aesthetic would be his altar. So in his bedroom, Rinpoche does not like his altar mixed in with his bedroom. So in the area where Rinpoche sleeps, he does not like any images near him because he feels it's disrespectful to the Buddha. And when it's disrespectful, the reason why we don't do that is because there's a karma involved. When you disrespect the Dharma, you will gain certain negative karma of unable to having obstacles to learn the Dharma and so forth. So Rinpoche does not like to disrespect the three jewels. So altars, even within his bedroom, later on in Kechara Forest Retreat, where his bedroom is a little bit more spacious, he has altars that is blocked away by screens, so that even when he sleeps, he will not feel that he has disrespected the Buddha. All right. Yes. Thank you very much, Chung. That's it. Sharon says, one of the things I love in Rinpoche's room is Rinpoche's personal Vajragini. She is so stunning and lifelike. Oh yes, Rinpoche had a lifelong fascination. It is one of his main practice. It's not the only practice that Rinpoche does. But I remember Rinpoche's Vajragini even from the earliest days. Of course, Rinpoche in the earliest days, he didn't have a lot of huge Buddha images. His Vajragini image at that time, when earlier days, was the Bodh Gaya one. The one that was sponsored by the Malaysian monk, right? And that was his connection to Malaysia as well. And then later on, later on after that, Rinpoche had another statue that's an antique, a very nice. Oh, that one when I saw it, I was like, wow, it's so beautiful. You know, it's a Vajragini statue that's given by his father, and apparently it's an antique one from Tashi Lumpo Monastery. So that one was really beautiful, and it's like a Barbie doll in a sense that you can remove all the ornaments. Usually, Buddha statues, all the ornaments are like welded in, but this one, although it's a small one, it's about 9-inch. All the crown, the skull cup, the drigup, which is the cemetery knife, chopper, and the karanka, everything can be removed, even the crown. There's a little hole you can place the crown. Yeah, and even the necklace, if I remember correctly, everything can be removed till she's just bare, just her body. And when there were times when I have helped to remove all those, and you can see that the statue is really well made, although it's very small. But anyway, for Rinpoche in his bedroom, Rinpoche does not like Buddha images near him. But he still have altars. especially when he was in Kechara Forest Retreat later on. So anyway, the bedroom basically is just for where Rinpoche basically he stays all day. In his later part of his life, he stayed mostly in his bedroom and hardly come out. When Rinpoche comes out, it's usually like once in a few months when he goes out, and once in it's like a period where it's once in a few months, and because he doesn't feel like he wants to do anything, or to meet to have fun. It's not part of Rinpoche's agenda, and but sometimes he does go out. And he brings his students, his attendants, his friends to watch movies, to have dinner, to meet with his students, to meet with certain people, and people who request, or to go to give a teaching, But it's not often, and months apart. For many years, Rinpoche, especially ever since Kechara House was formed, Rinpoche had become more as a Lama. That's what he does. He meets people and he gives teaching, and he stays at home. And anyway, Rinpoche is not the type that likes to go out and has to go around do things. He doesn't, unless he needs to do something. So if he needs to travel, and there's a purpose in it. He needs to bring students for pilgrimage, which he has done before, and there's only a handful of pilgrimages Rinpoche led before. It's not a lot. It's not like a yearly thing. It's not. Although Rinpoche, when it comes to pilgrimage, there's something that Rinpoche look forward to, because he enjoys going to holy places. He enjoys the atmosphere. He enjoys that everybody, everybody around engage in spirituality, engage in Dharma, in prostrations, in circumambulation, and enjoy that everybody is, there's a feeling of encouragement, of solidarity, with people, that everybody's doing Dharma. And there's appreciation of Dharma. Oh my. Okay, I have a little comment here. Hi, Pastor. This is Ngai Hin. Can a Lama previous life spirit come to meet or convey special messages or pass over previous power to his reincarnate new body form? Okay. Possible. They're not passing power. How would I say it? Sometimes I've heard of before, I read of such things happening before, in the sense that usually not exactly your own. Sometimes it's other lamas who have deceased. They passed away, and then you have visions of these lamas. For example, Lama Tsongkhapa. For example, Dozin Drapa Gyaltsen. For example, the Dalai Lama. Maybe the previous Dalai Lama. There are people who have visions of the previous Dalai Lamas. So, and then they come and they give a blessing, maybe give some teaching, explain certain things, pass on some kind of transmission. We call it the blessing. The blessing specifically is a type of what is known as a transmission. It's not just bless us and then we get good luck. It's not. It's a blessing of opening our Dharma seeds. It's a blessing of planting certain Dharma imprints on our mind so that we can gain certain realization, or we can give teachings, or we can okay, so something like that. It's not really power and or special, and that means it is a special message. There are certain teachings that are passed through the mind only. It's called a mind transmission. So when you gain vision of a Lama, right? When, let's say for me, if I gain a vision of Tsem Rinpoche, sometimes he can pass on a transmission, a blessing. No, I keep saying blessing, but a transmission, a mind transmission. So sometimes it is described as, maybe a light passed down, or maybe he puts his hand on my head, or he puts a Dharma book on my head. Like for example, Lama Tsongkhapa, before he gained realization of emptiness, He had a vision of all, he did some retreat and he had a vision of all the Pandits of India, the great masters of India. And one of the masters from Nagarjuna, the one who first spoke about emptiness to his disciple, Buddha Palita. And it was Buddha Palita who blessed him with a book. And then later on, when Lama Tsongkhapa was reading, he decided, oh, maybe I should read the book by this Indian master, Buddha Palita. So he took the book and he read it. And the moment he read it, he gained realization. He gained some sort. It's a realization of emptiness. You can say it's enlightened, but it's not fully enlightened. But it's realization of emptiness. Okay, so it is possible. In short. So anyway, in the Ladrang, yeah. So it was, with regards to Rinpoche's bedroom, it's very simple. Basically, Rinpoche don't like fancy furniture, and another thing about Rinpoche is he likes to move his things around. A lot of his students remember this fondly, especially those who work with Rinpoche in the Ladrang and outside the Ladrang, other departments, because Rinpoche will get his assistants to organize and call people to come and help. So it's always a big project to rearrange Rinpoche's bedroom all the time. Obviously, Rinpoche is not concerned with the arrangement. It's obvious. It's not. Rinpoche is not concerned with the arrangements, as in aesthetic lah, as in want to make things more beautiful, or he's bored of it. Although Rinpoche say he's bored, but it's not. I've come to realize this long time ago. It is actually for us. It is for us to come in and help Rinpoche arrange the place, have some sort of interaction with each other, with Rinpoche. So usually the project involves quite a lot of people, not 2, 3, maybe 5, 10, 20 sometimes. Because Rinpoche, eventually there's one period of time when Rinpoche had a whole library of his books in his room. Okay, so the library of books in his room, there are probably about 10 shelves? I forgot how many shelves. 15 shelves. Pastor reminded me, 15 shelves. We have to move them around. So when we move, we have to make sure that the books are match the category, the shelf lah, basically. And it's a huge production. So why does Rinpoche does that? It is to help us organize. It is to help us. There's some sort of blessing in the sense that when you come into the Lama's house to help, people feel encouraged to see Rinpoche. People feel that, they get involved. They get to be blessed by Rinpoche. Sometimes Rinpoche will see someone and he will talk to the person, and will give them food. Most important, Rinpoche loves to do that. He likes to feed his students. And there's so much memories of that. So because it's not just working, Rinpoche will make sure that we have enough food and rest so that we can do the work. And sometimes he will call and have personal talk with the person, with certain people, and for things like that lah. That's the actual reason for why Rinpoche is doing that. And for those immediately assisting Rinpoche, it is to train ourselves to organize people, to organize things, to manage time, manage people. Okay. I don't know if this is a question? No, it's not a question, it's a statement. Chung says, number 1, many of us have dreams of Rinpoche. Number 2, attainments do not disappear from one life to another because the mind stream is continuous. Basically that's what Rinpoche used to do in his bedroom. And of course Rinpoche does divination. What's a divination? Divination is a way of looking into the future. And there are many ways there. Of course, divination is not a Buddhist thing. It's something that is across, any religion. Some religions don't believe in it, some religions do. Sometimes it's more of a folk belief, whatever it is. In Buddhism, we do have divination, especially in Tibetan Buddhism. So there are many methods of divination. I won't go into very much detail about the different divination methods, but the one that Rinpoche does, the method that Rinpoche does is Dorje Shukden divination, Dorje Shukden dice divination. Rinpoche had blogged about this. There is a blog article on Rinpoche's blog that details the process and how to get it, get the teaching, get the blessing, the training to it, to do the divination. You can't just do it on your own immediately because you are contacting a higher being. You're contacting Dorje Shukden. Dorje Shukden's level and our level is huge. You know, there's a lot of difference. And the level is because Dorje Shukden's enlightened. So his level of purity is much higher than ours, purity. Yeah? So for us to contact him requires some sort of purification from outside. Okay? Some sort of training needs to be done. So it's retreats, it's Buddhist retreats that needs to be done. And for Rinpoche has undergone all those already. So Rinpoche said those retreats are not meant to do divination. Those retreats are for us to become attained and enlightened. But so happen it is a requirement to do divination. All right? So the divination is a dice and it is a container. Okay, the dice is written with Tibetan alphabets. Is it called an alphabet? Yeah, it's an alphabet. So what happened is he throws it. He asks a question. Rinpoche will ask a question and throw it. And then it will fall, and each letter will correspond to a certain meaning based on the category of your request. So there's a manual for it, and that is actually available on Rinpoche's blog, by the way. But we should not do it if we have not done the right we have not done the retreats. Otherwise it will not be accurate. All right, so Rinpoche does divination in the past, and Rinpoche don't really like to advertise it, and Rinpoche don't like to do it because some people do misuse it. You know, they ask Rinpoche, "Oh, you know, I lost my car keys. Where can you do a divination? Oh, I'm doing this business deal. Should I do business A or business B?" That kind of question. So Rinpoche feels that for divination, it should be something that is more important than just these kind of questions. So it should be on a query that involves either life or death, meaning like a doctor, like a treatment for illness or a sickness, or it could be something that is more important, like our Dharma practice, our deity, or whatever it is, our yidam, or whatever that's more substantial. So Rinpoche does do divination, and actually on many occasions Rinpoche already know the answer before he does the divination. But because for the benefit of the student, he has to do a divination. What does it benefit the student? Depending on their level of faith in the Lama. If people trust the Lama, then Rinpoche can tell them, "Oh, you just do this, then they'll follow." But for a lot of people, their trust is not there yet. Maybe they're new. So Rinpoche have to do a divination to show, okay, it's like this. So when you show the divination, the result, then they will have more faith. Then there's a higher chance they'll follow the instructions. And that's why Rinpoche does divination. And on many occasions, it is meant to help people and to bring people to the Dharma. That is Rinpoche's main purpose of why he does divination. Okay, Stanley has a question. Pastor, this is a bit off topic, but I have a Kache Mapo statue. Can the Dorje Shukden practice be done with this statue if I don't have a Dorje Shukden statue? Oh, of course, why not? Kache Mapo is Rinpoche's, is Dorje Shukden's main minister. It is main minister. It's not a problem. Kache Mapo in his own right is a Dharma protector, so there is liturgies, there is practices in that you can do with regards to Kache Mapo, but you can do the Dorje Shukden. In fact, when he takes trance, when Kache Mapo takes trance, it's usually after Dorje Shukden, and he often consults Dorje Shukden when it comes to important matters. I've seen it in the oracle, because the oracle that came to Kechara, the deity that speaks the most is Kachemapu, not Dorje Shukden, because there are other Dorje oracles where Dorje speaks more than Kachemapu. But this one, Kachemapu speaks more. So he speaks a lot, and he often consults with Dorje. So they are very much connected. All right, so there's no problem whatsoever. Anyway, Rinpoche had already said, because they're all enlightened, so there's no competition, not a problem. Even if you have a Tara statue and you do Dorje Shukden Puja, no problem. If you have Lama Tsongkhapa, even no problem. All right, there's no competition, not a problem. All right, so yeah, that's how Rinpoche's bedroom is. Mainly, it's his place, it's his private place, his private office, and his main domain where he spends his most time. From the earlier days to later, he spends most of the time in his bedroom, especially when more of his attendants come into to his residence to help assist. I was one of the people who came in. There was a period of time in the early days where Rinpoche was seriously short-handed, and I was one of the people who was volunteered by someone else to assist Rinpoche. So at that time, I started working for Kechara through the outlets first. And then after many years, about 1-2 years later, then there was a need for Rinpoche, for someone to assist, and I was suggested. So I entered to assist Rinpoche on a personal capacity, and to help Rinpoche with, I started off with offerings, because Rinpoche had a Vajragini altar, which is the Bodhgaya Vajragini. If you know Rinpoche, you will know the Bodhgaya Vajragini. So there was an altar, and it was a interesting concept, because the Rinpoche's altar at that time, Rinpoche had the whole living room in his residence completely empty. It's just the altar, and it's an island altar, So Vajragini is in the middle, offerings are surrounding her. So I remember I had to do offerings every single day around Vajragini. Okay, so there's one side. The majority of the offerings are in front of her. So what kind of offerings is just mainly water. So Rinpoche had a lot of butter lamps with candles, electric candles, and also silver bowls, sponsored by students. And Rinpoche feels at that time it was necessary to have a lot of offerings to generate a lot of merit. In Rinpoche's residence, there are many altars, shrines. And on these shrines, Rinpoche require us to make a lot of offerings, water offerings specifically. He said that it's important. It is important to generate a lot of merit specifically to specific deities that Rinpoche had in mind, like Vajragini. Okay, like Dorje Shukden. Why? Because to generate merit, to receive assistance, for us to have the merit to impart Dharma on others. So whatever people who get benefited through Rinpoche's works, Rinpoche's teachings, all the karmic basis from offerings, Rinpoche said. So in order to benefit others, you need to have the karma for it. You need to have the merit for it. So what happens is we need to generate it. So every single day, there's a lot of offerings being made in Kechara, in Rinpoche's Ladrang, until today. Even Rinpoche is not around anymore, but we're still doing it, following the tradition set by Rinpoche. So I used to do that. I used to come in every single day and do the offerings, clear the previous day's offerings, the water. So it's like 3-4 times a bucket of water, buckets of water, there are that amount of silver bowls. I remember about 100 plus bowls I have to fill every single day. So, throw out the water and then make sure I wipe it clean and then put it, upside down. Because it's inauspicious to have an open bowl in front of the Buddha, so you turn it down, and then throw it, and then fill the clean the bucket and wipe the bucket, and then put in fresh water in, then haul it back, and then make the offerings every single day before Rinpoche wakes up, and then when Rinpoche wakes up, serve him his meal, and then whatever is needed when Rinpoche asks for it. and be with Rinpoche. And with me specifically, I don't know why, but Rinpoche always want me to be around. Some assistants, Rinpoche don't necessarily want them around unless necessary. So with me, I'm always hanging around with Rinpoche. Rinpoche will want to talk to me. And then I would have to talk. I have to give new news. Rinpoche terms it new news. I have to think, like rack my brains of what people say, what people think, of the news. Never about the weather. Rinpoche say it's a no-no. Always about something interesting. And the things that interest people interest Rinpoche the most is about people. So that's what it's like. Okay, Mr. Lam says this. I've noticed that Rinpoche has rarely given public Dharma teachings, especially over the last few years prior to his passing. Is there any reason for this? Towards the end, the later part of Rinpoche's life, Rinpoche is winding down. He said it himself, and we understand Rinpoche's need for that, but we felt it was inauspicious to say, oh, okay, Rinpoche, you can wind down, you can retire. We didn't want to say that either. But Rinpoche did consciously, actively did that, and he encouraged his students, people like me, unfortunately for you guys, to give more teachings, sharings, and talks to start. Because you don't become a Dharma teacher overnight. You have to you have to gain the experience through your own learning, through your own practice, and then, develop yourself as a teacher. I don't call myself as a teacher yet. I don't think I ever will, but I'm just sharing the Dharma with you guys. So the purpose, I think Rinpoche, was to leave a legacy of teachers. He doesn't want himself to be the only teacher. He wants his students, the senior ones, to teach. In fact, he encourages all senior students to teach. Not just the pastors, but the pastors were specifically empowered by Rinpoche to teach, to do rituals, to do certain Dharma work that requires some sort of leadership position. All right, so that's the reason, because Rinpoche is thinking about the future when Rinpoche is not around anymore. Because when if Rinpoche is the one, if he's the only one giving teachings from the start to the end, so when Rinpoche does leave, does pass on, there'll be no one to fill in the gap. There'll be no one. So that's one of the reasons. All right. And it is to train us, and it is also to it is also to start preparing for his eventual. I think he himself knew the timing and when. It's just that it is necessary, because it's necessary for us to know that Rinpoche will, but not exactly when. Why is because I don't know. The question just popped in my mind. Why don't Rinpoche just say, "Oh, I'm going to pass on this year, this day"? Why not? Why don't Rinpoche do that? I'm sure Rinpoche knew. Sometimes I guess the impact of the passing will be less, and that will have less of impact. The impact is necessary of Rinpoche's passing for a Dharma teaching to enter in our minds. Dharma teachings does not necessarily mean teachings that come in words, Sometimes the Lama is able to pass teachings through like passing away. So the passing away, passing into parinirvana or passing into clear light, the word that usually in traditional terms is usually clear light, all right, is necessary to have that kind of impact. It's necessary for the students to have that impact, to have that kind of blessing, I would say. All right? For his students to have realization, to develop realization that life is short, realization of impermanence, and ultimately, more important than just realization of impermanence, it's actually renunciation. Okay, renunciation is much more than, I used to think it was just, impermanence, understanding impermanence, have some deep feeling about impermanence. It's more than that. It's more than that. I hope you guys are still on because I'm like still on, right? Thank you. All right. Anyway, any more questions? Actually, I have a lot more to say, but I think better not. It's already overshot. But in a nutshell, okay. Let's put it. Rinpoche's Ladrang. I mean, his room, the building itself. The residence of the Ladrang. Rinpoche had a number of students. His main assistants helping him in the Ladrang was JP, Bing Kui, Pastor Seng Piao in the past, and some other people as well, and some teams. Some people came, some people left, and a lot of the work that Rinpoche did began in the Ladrang. And one of the things that Rinpoche said, when there is the Ladrang, where there is a Ladrang, the Dharma will grow. So in Kechara Forest Retreat, when Kechara Forest Retreat was first built, when construction began, the first structure was the Ladrang. And that was Rinpoche's way of imparting that Dharma is most important, and he wants Dharma to grow, not just buildings. It's for the Dharma to grow here, because it has a symbolic meaning for us that, yes, we can do a lot of Dharma work, but more important is when we do Dharma work, it has to come together hand in hand with Dharma practice, Dharma realization, Dharma. It has to be Dharma motivated. All right, so the Ladrang is for the Dharma to grow. That's the purpose, and it's to benefit others through the Dharma. And also, I mean, of course, it's not just teachings and all that lah. It's more than just teachings. Rinpoche does a lot of work that to benefit people, the organization that doesn't seem conventionally Dharma, like feeding people meals. Rinpoche even had parties in the Ladrang. Yeah, I remember a long time ago. I think party is not exactly Rinpoche, something that Rinpoche does on regular basis. But in the earlier days, Rinpoche allowed his students to have party. He himself didn't get involved, but I remember Rinpoche was upstairs. This is in the old Ladrang in KL. Rinpoche was upstairs. We were all having party downstairs, and yeah, it was more for us because at that time a lot of us were young and we were restless, and so Rinpoche allowed us to have some fun, and and even Rinpoche, even part of so Rinpoche does things like that lah, and whatever it is Rinpoche does is always to whether it's strictly Dharma. That we will learn a lot of pujas. In the first pujas, in the ones that we do now in Kechara, in the puja house today, we learned it from the monks who came and stayed in Ladrang and taught us in the Ladrang. I remember they taught us how to do the thomas. They taught us how to do the rituals. They had classes in the Ladrang, and the monks were teaching us that time. So everything was they had that kind of purpose and that kind of benefit. And a lot of the major projects, like from Rinpoche's blog to the various departmental meetings, we used to have a huge meeting room in the Ladrang for his assistants to come, which Rinpoche calls them liaisons at that time. Now it's known as the board of directors, BOD. And what happens is to have meetings and stuff, and a lot of work is done. Some of you guys probably have been there, experienced it. Some of you have not. So I'm just giving. And also Rinpoche in his Ladrang is also the place where some departments were born. For example, the E division. There's some also. There was like the aviary, which Rinpoche actually the truth. Rinpoche wanted an animal sanctuary very, very badly, but we just haven't had anyone able to organize something like that, to have an animal sanctuary to be devoted to just animals, and a department based on just to do that as a part of Kechara. And he started off an aviary. He does a lot of things, and then even in Rinpoche's car, there's where he stock out a lot of animal food. So when he does go out, he always stop his car to feed the animals, and occasionally people. Not with the same food, of course. Oh, okay. Sharon's asks, is Rinpoche's Ladrang unique as it is manned by lay people, unlike other Ladrang that were by monks? Actually, not necessary. A lot of the Rinpoches these days have Ladrangs in foreign countries, and the majority of them are manned by lay people. But most Ladrangs I've been to in the past, like visit, like Gangchen Rinpoche's Ladrang, there were quite a lot more Sangha. Definitely a lot more. Even when there were a lot of lay people, there are still Sangha. And in our tradition, most of the Rinpoches are monks. So what happens, most lah, okay, not all, most. And so around them are usually Sangha, or at least male. Like for Rinpoche himself, he always surrounds people around him with at least one male. So it's not possible to have all males. Sometimes situations dictate it because the people that assist Rinpoche tend to be more female, more. So what happens is, but still, Rinpoche's personal attendant usually is a male. He always, in any time in his room or anywhere else, Rinpoche ensures that there's a guy there. There's a male. I mean, there's a male. There's a guy. There's a male person, and in order to, for various reasons lah, okay, for various reasons, in the sense that because to protect people's mind, that's how Rinpoche phrase it, to protect people's minds, that they don't have a wrong understanding, just because Rinpoche have quite a lot of females working for him personally on a personal capacity as assistants and so forth. All right. So what was the question again? Oh yeah, my monks. So yeah, I think Rinpoche's, I guess you can be right, but there are also other Ladrangs with a lot of lay people, that's for sure. I've seen Gangchen Rinpoche's Ladrang, I've seen Kejok Rinpoche. I mean, the other Rinpoches I've seen was in a monastery, so those don't count. They're all monks, right? Some I've heard that, like Rinpoche's father, his late father, Losang Gyatso, his guru, Chongsa Rinpoche, apparently his Ladrang is 1,000 monks strong. It's like a little monastery in itself already. Some Ladrangs can be massive institutions. And they have a whole department just to fundraise. Like Rinpoche's father used to be the personal sponsor of his guru, Trungsa Rinpoche. And he used to handle a lot of businesses for the Ladrang to raise funds for the Ladrang, for the Lama, to do his various Dharma projects. All right, so our Ladrang and our Rinpoche didn't have that kind of massive help. But Rinpoche always said if he had, he would do a lot more. That's for sure. Because Rinpoche is capable of doing a lot, but he needs a lot of help. He's just one person. But this one person can already do quite a lot of people. If Rinpoche's role and the responsibilities Rinpoche does, his role and responsibilities, were to be covered, I would say at least, I don't know, somewhere between 6 to 10 people will need to cover the roles and responsibilities, just Rinpoche one person. Because Rinpoche does a lot of work on a continuous basis. So, and if you break it down, it's massive, it's like the things that Rinpoche does on a daily basis, and because they're so massive, some people can't keep up. If you work closely with Rinpoche, you understand what I mean. So I would say easily between 6 to 10 people, the kind of work that Rinpoche, and some people, it's not amount of people, it's the kind of level of thinking, of planning, of thinking, of working simultaneously. So as they say lah, when you are a meditation master, because meditation, you think, we always think that, it's just focusing on one thing. That means, when we're out of meditation, we cannot focus. We only focus one thing at a time. No. When you focus on one thing, you're able, once you're out of meditation, you can focus much, much more on many things simultaneously. So your ability to focus becomes multiplied, manyfold. Whereas if you don't do meditation, our ability to focus, we only have to do one task at a time. That shows our level of focus is not there. That shows also that we don't do that much meditation. All right. So I'll leave that as a kind of a conclusion. All right. And thank you very much for joining me. Let me see. Next session, the next episode will be behind the scenes with Rinpoche. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, that's kind of like a continuation of what I spoke, isn't it? So that will be on the 7th of July. That's 2 weeks from now. Then not next week, it's the week after. All right. Thank you very much. And I wish you all the best. Thank you for joining me. And I hope the lockdown comes so quickly. And thank you very much to the sponsors. Let me see. The sponsors are Mr. Lam and family. May the merits generated in this Dharma sharing be dedicated to the swift return of His Eminence Tsem Rinpoche. Chancho Sancho Rinpoche, Mage Panang Gyushe, Keba Yamami Payang, Gonen Gono Pawasho, Tony Tonga Rinpoche, Mage Panang Gyushe, Keba Yamami Payang, Gonen Gono Pawasho, Dazo Jene Zabagewadi, Tanandroa Gunlang Kampada, Jebo Jozo Lozon Drapa, Dumping Burindo Sa Sho, Kewa Gundo Yanala Madan, Dremi Jogi Palanong Jojing, Sada Lanki on the Rajoni, Doji Changi Kopang Yotosho, Gewadi Yuruda, Lama Sangi Juhuni, Joa Chika Malupa de Salakobasho, Chijaba Songaba, Chozonama Bewala, Gekijama Juwadan, Tony Malon Dada Shenge Dozondan, George Letene. Yawa Lozon Drabai, Tamparing Bag, Yuji, Nimodella Sentale, Nemeko Intelection, Yasantatu Delepel, Controso Jingulo, Controso in Motroso, Controso Tashi Show, Jason Lamakuso Raptanche, Namkachi Jugi Bada, Losantami Drumisonsoki, Drumisotatu Negus, Gandhi Rawe Koa Shingam de, Penendewa Malukan Wine, Chenrezing Wantansin Kasoi, Shabi Sidi Badu Dan Yuji, Hong Tombing Odru Malupa, Denedala Sedeso, Kodan Tembelojana, Geva Zuji, Shukden Self. Thank you very much. Good night.